My beloved friends, I stand before you today to reveal a truth so profound, so utterly transformative, that it has been hidden from the masses for decades. While the world chases fleeting manifestation techniques, affirmations scribbled on bathroom mirrors, vision boards cluttered with magazine cutouts, and endless repetitions of positive phrases, they have missed the astonishing revelation that Neville Goddard gifted to humanity. I ask you now, what if absolutely everything you've been taught about manifestation is built upon a fundamental misunderstanding of the universe itself? What if I told you that the most powerful manifestation technique ever discovered has been sitting in plain sight, yet obscured by those who either cannot comprehend its magnificent simplicity or dare not share its revolutionary power? Today, I am breaking the silence. After dedicating years to studying Goddard's complete works, not merely the popular quotes that circulate on social media, but his entire body of teachings, I discovered the crucial elements that even self-proclaimed experts consistently miss or deliberately conceal. Neville Goddard was not merely another teacher of metaphysics. Born in Barbados in 1905, this extraordinary mystic discovered a method so profound, so immediately effective, that those who truly understand it find themselves capable of what the world would call miracles. Yet his true teachings have been diluted, misinterpreted, and in many cases completely abandoned in favor of commercialized manifestation methods that can never deliver what they promise. Why? Because true power threatens established orders. Because genuine transformation requires no middleman. Because once you understand what I'm about to share, you will never again need to depend on external authorities to manifest your desires. I make you this promise. By the end of our time together, you will possess the ability to literally rewrite your past and, in doing so, completely transform your present circumstances and future possibilities. This is not hyperbole, my dear friends, but the literal application of universal law as revealed through Neville Goddard's most profound teachings. What separates those who manifest with ease from those who struggle endlessly is not effort, worthiness, or spiritual advancement. It is simply this: understanding that you do not live in the universe lives within you. This is not poetic metaphor, but literal, cosmic fact. Before we proceed, I must warn you, what I'm about to reveal contradicts virtually everything being taught by today's manifestation gurus. You will be tempted to dismiss these teachings as too simple, too radical, or too contrary to accepted spiritual dogma. I ask only that you suspend disbelief long enough to test these principles in your own experience. Let me reveal the 3 shocking misconceptions about manifestation that have kept you trapped in cycles of hoping, wishing, and ultimately disappointment. First, nearly everyone believes manifestation requires attracting something from outside themselves. This fundamental error collapses the moment you grasp Neville's core revelation. Second, conventional wisdom insists that manifestation requires repetitive visualization, constant affirmation, and unending mental discipline. Neville discovered this to be not only unnecessary but counterproductive. Third, popular teaching claims manifestation depends upon maintaining positive thoughts and high vibrations. Neville exposed this as perhaps the most crippling misunderstanding of all. These 3 misconceptions form an impenetrable barrier between you and the life you truly desire. They transform manifestation from your natural birthright into an exhausting struggle that yields inconsistent results at best. The first shocking truth about manifestation is this: there is nothing to attract, nothing to pull toward you, nothing to deserve or become worthy of receiving. The very concept of attraction betrays a fundamental misunderstanding of consciousness itself. When Neville declared, "The world is yourself pushed out," he was not offering a clever metaphor, but describing the literal structure of reality. Consciousness is not contained within your physical body. Rather, your physical body and every circumstance of your life are contained within consciousness. You are not a tiny fragment of consciousness trying to influence a vast external world. You are the totality of consciousness experiencing itself through an infinite variety of expressions, one of which you currently identify as me. This revelation alone dissolves the need for techniques designed to bridge an imaginary gap between yourself and your desires. There is no gap. There is no separation. There is only consciousness and its content, and you are that consciousness. My beloved friends, when you truly grasp this first principle, the entire manifestation industry crumbles into irrelevance. Every technique designed to help you attract what you desire becomes as unnecessary as a fish trying to attract water. You do not attract your desires, you select them from the infinite possibilities already present within the only reality there is, consciousness itself. This is merely the beginning of our journey together. In the moments that follow, I will reveal exactly how to apply this understanding to literally revise your past, transform your present, and create your future with the effortless naturalness of breathing. I will share with you Neville Goddard's most closely guarded secret, the one that makes all other manifestation techniques obsolete. The first shocking truth has been revealed. Manifestation is not attraction, but selection. Now let us proceed to the second revelation that will forever transform how you engage with the creative power of your magnificent consciousness. The second profound misconception about manifestation that continues to trap countless seekers in cycles of frustration is the belief that manifestation requires repetitive effort, that you must visualize constantly, affirm repeatedly, and maintain unwavering focus on your desires to bring them into being. Neville Goddard discovered something remarkably different. In his lecture, Living from the End, he stated, "Man's chief delusion is his conviction that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness." This revolutionary understanding reveals why repeated affirmations and visualizations so often fail to produce results. When you repeatedly affirm or visualize a desire, you are unconsciously reinforcing its absence from your current experience. The very act of repetition betrays your conviction that what you seek is not yet yours, and this conviction, this state of consciousness, is the only cause of your experience. Let me share with you directly from Neville's own words, which few manifestation teachers dare to emphasize. You need not repeat the action unless the belief in your dream wavers. If your assumption is not rooted in fact, it is all the more important to persist until it takes root and grows naturally in your consciousness. Notice carefully what Neville is revealing here. The purpose of any technique is not to create your desire through repetition, but to create a new state of consciousness, a state in which your desire is already fulfilled. Once that state is established, repetition becomes not only unnecessary but potentially harmful, as it implies doubt. This is why Neville taught living from the end rather than endless visualization. To live from the end means to atone, mentally and emotionally, the consciousness of already being, having or doing what you desire. It is not about creating something new, but about selecting a state of consciousness that already exists in the infinite field of possibilities. Let me share a personal example that demonstrates the profound difference between conventional manifestation techniques and Neville's approach. Years ago, I desperately wanted to manifest a specific career opportunity that seemed impossible given my circumstances. For months, I practiced traditional techniques, visualizing daily, creating affirmations, even sleeping with a symbolic representation under my pillow. Nothing manifested. In fact, opportunities seemed to move further away. Then, I discovered Neville's true method. Instead of visualizing the opportunity as something to attain in the future, I began to live from the state of consciousness in which I had already attained it. When I walked as if I already held that position. When I spoke with the inner authority of someone already established in that role. Most importantly, when I fell asleep at night, I did so feeling the natural satisfaction of already being what I desired to be. Within 2 weeks, an opportunity appeared that exceeded what I had imagined possible, and it came through channels I could never have consciously arranged or predicted. This illustrates what Neville meant when he wrote in "Feeling is the secret." To know that consciousness is the one and only reality, destined to manifest itself in an infinity of forms, is not enough. To be conscious of being poor while praying for riches is to be rewarded with that which you are conscious of being, namely poverty. The third devastating misconception that has corrupted manifestation teaching is perhaps the most pervasive: the belief that manifestation requires positive thinking and high vibrational states. This misunderstanding has created an entire spiritual toxic positivity culture that Neville explicitly rejected. In his lecture Revision, Neville provided us with perhaps his most revolutionary teaching, one that directly contradicts the positive vibes-only approach to manifestation. He taught that we have the power to literally revise our past, replacing undesirable experiences with imaginal ones, and in doing so transform both our present and future. Neville declared, "Revision is of the greatest importance when the motive is to change oneself, when there is a sincere desire to be something different, when the longing is to awaken a more noble conception of oneself. This is not positive thinking. It is the actual reconstitution of events through the creative power of consciousness. While modern teachers speak of raising your vibration and avoiding negative thoughts, Neville taught the law of assumption rather than the law of attraction. The distinction is crucial. The law of attraction suggests that like attracts like, that positive thoughts attract positive circumstances. The law of assumption, by contrast, states that what you consciously assume to be true must by necessity objectify itself in your experience. The power is not in the positivity of your thoughts, but in the conviction of your assumptions. A deeply felt assumption, even if it contradicts all present evidence, will invariably harden into fact. This is why Neville taught, if you will assume your desire and live there as though it were true, no power on earth can stop it from becoming a fact. Consider this profound example from Neville's own lectures. He shared the story of a woman who had been estranged from her son for many years. Rather than affirming reconciliation or visualizing a future reunion, Neville instructed her to revise the past. Each night before sleep, she was to replace her memories of estrangement with imaginal scenes of loving interaction throughout the years they had been separated. Within weeks, her son contacted her after years of silence, and their relationship was restored. But here's the astonishing part that few teachers acknowledge. When they discussed their past, both mother and son recalled loving exchanges during the very years they had been physically separated. The revision had not merely changed their future, it had literally transformed their shared history. This is the true power of Neville's teaching, not merely to create a better future, but to select a different past from the infinite field of all possibilities. When you change the past in consciousness, you automatically change the present that flows from that past. The law of assumption transcends conventional causality. It does not merely suggest that your thoughts influence your reality, it reveals that your assumptions are the only reality, and what you experience as the world is simply the shadow cast by those assumptions. Neville stated this radical truth directly. The world is yourself pushed out. Ask yourself what you are doing in consciousness, for that is what you are doing to your world. This understanding liberates you from the endless struggle to control or improve external circumstances. When you change your fundamental assumptions about yourself and your relationship to reality, the external must conform, not through attraction, but through expression. This is why Neville taught that feeling is the secret, not emotion, but the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When you capture the feeling of already being, having, or doing what you desire, you activate the law of assumption, and manifestation becomes not something you achieve, but something you allow. The transformation of consciousness is not achieved through repetitive techniques or forced positivity. It occurs in what Neville called that moment before you drift into sleep, when the conscious and subconscious minds merge, and what is impressed upon the subconscious must inevitably express itself in experience. Now that we have unveiled these three revolutionary truths about manifestation, that there is nothing to attract because all exists within consciousness, that repetition reinforces lack rather than creating abundance, and that assumption rather than attraction is the operative principle of creation, let us integrate these understandings into a practical approach that you can begin applying immediately. I am going to share with you Neville Goddard's most powerful technique, one that synthesizes all of his teachings into a single practice that can literally transform your life overnight. This technique is so effective, so immediately applicable that those who truly understand and apply it often experience what the world would call miraculous results within days or even hours. The technique is called the state akin to sleep, and it is the doorway through which you may enter any reality you choose to experience. Neville described this state as follows. By state akin to sleep, I mean a state of consciousness that borders on sleep, but does not cross the threshold where self-consciousness is lost. Here is how you will apply this technique tonight. First, find a quiet place where you will not be disturbed. Lie down or sit comfortably and allow your body to relax completely. Close your eyes and take several deep, slow breaths, releasing all tension from your body with each exhalation. Now, bring your attention to your breathing, without attempting to control it. Simply observe the natural rhythm of your breath until you feel yourself drifting towards sleep, while maintaining awareness. This is the state akin to sleep, the hypnagogic state where the conscious and subconscious minds merge. In this receptive state, select a scene that would naturally occur if your desire were already fulfilled. This scene must imply the fulfillment of your desire rather than the process of attaining it. If your desire is a new home, do not visualize the purchase process. Instead, see yourself receiving mail at your new address or hosting friends in your new living room. The scene should be brief, clear, and contain sensory details. Feel the texture of objects, hear relevant sounds, notice colors and scents. Most importantly, capture the feeling that would be yours if this scene were actually occurring now. Neville instructs, you must feel yourself into the state of the answered prayer until the feeling crowds all other ideas out of consciousness. This feeling, not the visualization, is what impresses your subconscious mind and activates the law of assumption. Remain in this scene, feeling its reality, until you either fall asleep or feel a sense of satisfaction that Neville described as spiritual satisfaction. This feeling of "it is done" is your signal that the impression has been made upon the subconscious. Now comes the most important part that virtually all manifestation teachers omit. Once you have impressed your subconscious with the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you must drop it completely. Do not repeat the exercise unless you feel the impression weakening. Any repetition from a sense of effort or anxiety implies doubt and contradicts the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. As Neville taught, having once assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, never revert back to the state of consciousness you were in prior to the assumption. This means you must live from your new assumption in waking life, reacting to circumstances not as they appear to be, but as they would be if your assumption were already manifested. Let me address the most common questions and objections that arise when people first encounter Neville's authentic teachings. How long will it take for my desire to manifest? Neville answers, the time it takes your assumption to become fact, your desire to be fulfilled, depends upon the naturalness of your feeling of already being what you want to be, of already having what you desire. What if I have contradictory thoughts or doubts during the day? Remember Neville's guidance. If, during the day, faith in your assumption should waver, repeat the action in imagination until you feel relieved and satisfied that you have succeeded. Can I manifest multiple desires simultaneously? Neville taught that consciousness can assume any state. However, he recommended focusing on one primary assumption until it feels natural, then proceeding to others. What if my desire seems impossible, given my current circumstances? Here we arrive at the heart of Neville's revolutionary teaching. Circumstances do not determine possibilities. Consciousness determines circumstances. As he stated, it is not what you want that you attract. You attract what you believe to be true. The revision technique I mentioned earlier is particularly powerful for those facing seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Each night, revise the day just ended. Replace any experiences that contradict your desire with imaginal scenes that support it. Over time, this practice literally rewrites your past and, consequently, transforms your present. Remember always, your consciousness is the only reality. What you are conscious of being, you must inevitably become. This is not philosophy or metaphor, but the literal operation of universal law. My beloved friends, now that you know what Neville Goddard really taught, you can stop wasting precious time and energy on techniques that reinforce lack rather than fulfillment. You can cease the exhausting effort to attract what already exists within you. You can abandon the crippling belief that manifestation requires struggle, worthiness, or special spiritual advancement. The kingdom is within you not as poetic allegory, but as literal fact. Your consciousness is the only creative power in your universe. What you assume, you become. What you believe, you experience. What you claim in consciousness, you receive in manifestation. I invite you now to test these principles in your own experience. Tonight, before you sleep, select one desire, one assumption of fulfillment, and impress it upon your subconscious through the state akin to sleep. Then, live from that assumption tomorrow and observe how reality reshapes itself to conform to your new consciousness. If you have found value in these revelations, I encourage you to join our community of serious students of Neville's authentic teachings. Subscribe to receive more videos revealing the misunderstood teachings of this remarkable mystic and others whose wisdom has been concealed or distorted by conventional spiritual marketing. The power to transform your reality has always been within you. It is not something to be acquired, but something to be recognized and expressed. As Neville himself declared, you are already that which you seek. The living proof awaits you tonight, in the quiet moments before sleep, when you at last claim your divine inheritance as the operant power in your universe. Remember, Everything depends upon your concept of yourself. Claim your power now. Revise your past. Transform your life.